All
right.
Hello, everyone. We are back once again for the show that everybody's talking about. Another episode of a conversation with Kely. I am here with my lovely and beautiful co-host, Allie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, just chilling at home. I went for a nice walk today,
That's good. I did as well.
which was beautiful. Other than
Yes.
that, it's been kind of chilling and not really doing a whole lot because I have a day off.
Yes. The weather is getting a lot nicer. It's a good time to walk.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a very, very good time to walk. Similar to what people are doing with this show right now. People are kind of just like walking away from it because of what's going on. Yeah, in all seriousness, we are going to talk about the first week of BB Can 11. We talked about the first two episodes already. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the first week. Verdict on the first week overall. I will go to you in a second, but I'll just give my thoughts on the first week. Not great. Not great at all. I'm not really digging this season very much. I think that the gameplay already it's heading in a direction that could potentially be interesting, but again, with having very little context of what's actually going on and trying to get a read on these players, it's just making it very hard to do so. And I've said this before, with the absence of feeds, I feel like the show needs to work, like the episodes need to work twice as harder to give us an idea of like what everybody's doing, where their heads are at, what is their plan in the game, and they're not really doing that. And so because of that, I just feel like we're not really getting a full understanding of what's actually happening here. So it honestly is very hard to talk about a lot of things when it comes to this season so far. I will say the way this week ends seems a bit more promising, but overall, I thought this was a very, very subpar first week. But what did you think?
I mean, I didn't like hate the week overall, but like it's definitely a slow start. Like some of the episodes were good, some episodes were kind of just not
Yeah.
that great. I just this so far it's just a very hit or miss season. I hope it
Mhm.
gets better. Just like we just gotta make sure the right people are targeted and like people are not just going with house, things like that. But overall, like I didn't hate the episodes, but I just wish we got to see like more stuff. I wish the fees were back. And I just wish
That'd be great. That'd be
and
great.
like
But that
I just
doesn't seem
want to
like
know
that's
more
happening
about
anytime
I want to
soon.
know more about people's games, not just Zach's.
Yeah, that I think that really is like the big issue, especially with this week in particular, is that there is a clear, and I said it in episode 2, there is a clear favorites amongst production, and it just so happens that that person is probably the most unlikable person in the cast right now, and they're getting all of the airtime. So yeah, it's really not that great. But anyway, let's stop rambling and let's just head into Tuesday's episode, which I will say, with how little we got in those first two episodes, I actually did think that the Tuesday episode actually was pretty good, gave us a better understanding of where some of these house guests are, but not necessarily something I'd call great either. But Allie's going to go ahead first, and a nice little change of pace here, and
Okay.
start reading off the notes for Tuesday.
All right. Renee is sad to have come dead last, and there is nothing she can do about not going on the block. However, she is optimistic that she'll be okay with whoever's against her on the block because, like, since she was only nominated because of the comp, so she thinks she's okay because of that.
Yeah, and
But
I will say, I do think that she actually handled herself very well this week. Having
yeah,
been in that position, I think she did what she needed to do.
yeah,
It just sucks that like this is how things had to start for her.
yeah. Like it sucks because obviously being on the block is not great.
Yeah.
Like it's scary. and
Yeah.
maybe she wanted to be one of those people who stayed off the block. So
Yeah.
I do feel bad for her, but she did handle herself well, and
Hmm.
it's definitely like something that she'll be okay with
Yeah.
this part. How
For this week at least.
yeah. Hope tries to motivate her by reminding her that Kevin was on the block last year and won the whole thing.
Yeah, which I
So
mean, I did think this was a good
like
conversation with Hope, the way that he
yeah.
was motivating her here. You can very much tell from this scene, without getting into spoilers for the next week, Hope is very much like the guy that's here to like motivate people. He's here to gas people up. He's here to make them feel better. And this is one of his many moments of doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Santina is feeling great about winning HOH. Immediately, she wants to go after someone who is currently sleeping in the purple room. So, Daniel, Dan, Anika, Claudia, and JM, as she hasn't really connected with any of them so far.
Can we just talk about this room division bullshit? Like, why is this a thing? Why did production ever think it was a good idea to assign players to their own like sleeping quarters? Like, literally,
Yeah,
when you do that, it just makes for this kind of mentality where it's like, well, we don't really know the people on this side of the house, so we're gonna go for them. Like, what is this, fucking Survivor? Like, no. The whole point of like the sleeping arrangements is the house guests can choose where they want to sleep. I don't understand why they thought it would be a good idea to assign them. I don't understand why production is making so many terrible decisions this season, this
I
being
mean,
many of them.
yeah, unless they're just trying new things, but
Well,
like
it's not working.
I'm just hoping next season they go back to live feeds and regular BB can.
Yeah, I don't like this.
Yeah, this is just very different. Like I don't hate it. It's just
I kind
different.
of do.
I mean, I'm not really a big fan of digital dailies, but
No, not that either.
because I haven't even really watched them, but like I don't hate the season overall. But yeah, anyway. Kuzi tells Vanessa she likes that production made it so that they have to do well in comp because if she was planning to throw it, but she loves that the HOH now has no reason to go for anyone.
Yeah, literally, Kuzi literally said why this twist is terrible just from that.
Yeah. I love her though.
Oh yeah, Kuzi's definitely like one of my favorites.
Oh yeah. Kuzi wants to see the women run the season and hopes that Santina can set the tempo right and send the guys out one by one.
Oh, I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Santina talks to Jonathan and lets him know he is nowhere near her target and isn't after the physical players or strongmen and wants to work with them. Yeah.
Yeah, immediately when she said this, I was like, "Oh God, this is like the worst possible first HOH we could have gotten." Look, we have had some shitty first HOHs, I feel like recently in Big Brother, but like this is one of the most, I think, abysmal HOH reigns I've seen in a while. Santina makes no attempt to try to benefit herself from this HOH. Immediately, she like basically limits herself from the rest of the house. She makes
Yeah.
it very clear like who she wants to work with, and it puts her in this position where now she is at a disadvantage where she could have easily been at an advantage. And I was nothing she did this week in terms of her HOH reign made sense to me.
I know. She's just not the best strategist.
No, she's really not, and I don't
Like
think she's very.
I don't dislike her or anything. I just think she needs to be better at strategy.
I don't think she's long for this game at all.
No, I can see her being like last pre-juror maybe.
That's exactly where I see her, actually. Yeah, I think she's
Yeah.
gonna be the last pre-juror.
Yeah. She says coming into the house, she wanted to work with individuals who were competitive and knew the game. At this point, she feels closest with Zach, Ty, and Rob. Zach goes to tell the guys that JM is coming after them, and he thinks he's in love with him and says they have influence over Santina, which I found very problematic.
Oh yeah, I mean I have a lot of issues with Zach, but yeah.
Zach is just not a good person.
I just hate the way he talks. Like he always seems like he's like the know-it-all and like he
Yep.
knows what he's doing. And like I'm
He's
glad that
very
people
he
already
thinks
seem to be like recognizing it, but like it's just and especially because we get so much of it this week, it's just insufferable to watch.
he's so cocky, he thinks he's hot shit.
Yeah, literally.
Like, I don't actually think Rob is cocky. I actually kind of don't
No,
mind
he's
him.
really not.
He's
I
actually
definitely
really
just
nice.
judged him.
Yeah. Okay. She's here to prove to similar mindsets to them, and Rob throws out putting down on the block. Zach thinks that isn't a good idea because Dan asked him to go to the end with him, and Ty says he's never had a conversation with him. And Zach brings up how he's never talked to Kuzi, but Ty said he felt good with her and Ty. And Ty says if he feels some type of way about her, and Zach says he doesn't, and if they put up Dan, then they have JM and everyone that he's coming after them right away.
Yeah, and so immediately what I don't like about this is that, like, Zach has this whole plan mapped out. No nominations have been discussed. He hasn't gone to Santine about this. He knows what he wants to get done this week. And
Yeah,
I feel like his best bet is to kind of just let Santina do what she wants. And then if he has the opportunity to then plant the seed to her, not immediately go to her and like basically try to control her entire HOH, which is essentially what he does here.
exactly.
Yes, he's very cocky. Yes, this is, he's just a very arrogant person. But I think there was a way that Zach could have worked this out and it actually could have gone well for him. But I don't think he handled this week well at all. I think he, no doubt, was in the best position. Everybody was coming to Zach trying to get on his side, but he didn't do anything to utilize it. If anything, I think he alienated himself from a lot of people this week.
Yeah, he was just not good.
Yeah. So, I mean, we get, especially right then, we get this scene with Rob where he says that he feels like Zach is dictating the house more than he even knows it. He will be keeping his eye out to how much coaching he's doing and how dangerous he is. So immediately you have Rob, somebody that Zach feels really close with, that automatically is like, yeah, this guy's got to go. He's doing too much. So we see Zach then brings up how Dan would ride for them more than he would for JM, and they want to backdoor him, which Ty thinks is too much of a gamble, which, yeah, it's the first week. Why are we trying to why are we trying to go for this this backdoor immediately? It's literally week 1. Zach says that once they have it, it's a done deal, and then they can do it. They can control the week, and Ty feels that they should just go with what Santina wants, which, like, yeah, that's like the logical thing to do. And Zach says the sooner they have her, make her feel a part of this, the better it is for their games. And then they have to be in lockstep with her. Again, I just fucking hate the way that Zach talks sometimes, acts like it's like his way or the highway. And this is a perfect example of that. But also I think he has this tunnel vision this week for JM. He doesn't want any other outcome aside from like what he wants done. He doesn't want to be presented any other variables. And I think that also is what really hurt him this week.
Yeah, that really was.
So we see during everyone checking out Santina's HOH room, they are told that in addition to the HOH getting to take a house guest to a Wendy's breakfast, which is different this season. It's not usually breakfast. It's usually lunch, but I like that it's breakfast. That's kind of a fun little change.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah, so but this part I don't know how to feel about, and I want to hear your take on this. They're also going to have a chance throughout the season to win Wendy's reward points, and there are many ways to earn these points, but what they can buy with them and how they will affect their game will remain a mystery for now. What do you think of this little twist here?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. I hope I hope it like they actually do something good with it. Like with these reward points, like maybe if they have a certain amount of points, they get to like find some kind of power, some kind of advantage, or something like that, which would be kind of cool. Like, what if someone really needed that? But like, I hope it's actually like used well and use it to their benefit, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't really know how this is going to go. I feel like historically, at least for me, when Big Brother does like advantages like this, it doesn't really go that well. So I don't really know how this is going to go. If this is going to be, if this is just going to be like a couple weeks and then they're going to stop it, or if it's going to have some bigger impact. All I know is that I know Kuzi, I believe, gets some points at the end of this week, but we don't really know what that's all about. So, yeah, I don't really know how to feel about this. Again, another thing they didn't really explain that well.
Yeah, it's definitely like something that could be a very hit or miss as well.
Yeah. And knowing Big Brother with their twists, hit or miss is definitely the good way to describe it. We see Santina also gets her HOH outfit courtesy of winners. So, of course, we got to do some more cross promotion. That's what everybody wants to see. We want to see people parading in fucking winners outfits.
Nothing wrong with the stuff. Like, nothing wrong with their sponsors. Just like, don't just put a
There would be nothing wrong with it if we had feeds, but because we don't need this stuff.
We just don't want too much filler.
Like, this could be an easy, like, deleted scene. Like, that's what this should be. Those deleted scenes they're putting out, stuff like this, not the stuff they're putting out that's actually really important. So Santina says that she's hoping to put up 2 individuals that she hasn't formed a bond with, mainly leaning towards Dan and Anika, because she hasn't spoken game with either of them, but still isn't 100% sure about it. This is a fine reasoning. I don't really have any problem
Yeah.
with her going for the 2 of them.
Mhm.
But then here's where things get really interesting. JM is taken to Wendy's by Santina. She sees this video of Herman winning HOH from last season, and he ends up being her Wendy's server. I like that. We're getting to see them behind like the Wendy's door now and things like that. But he gives her some advice as to what to do with her HOH. And she says she's feeling closer with JM based on this. So she picks his brain a bit, and he tells her that he would have put up the guys if he was HOH this week. And for some reason, she's like really not into this at all. She's like, yeah, no, I have no reason to want to work with you after this. And I don't understand why she was so threatened by this. He at no
I
point
know.
said anything about wanting to come for her. He at no point mentioned anything about, targeting. She could have easily done something where she's like, okay, go for the guys, but not these guys. And I think he would have been fine with that. Like she could have said like, hey, Zach's off the table. And I think he would have been fine with that because he's supposed to be close with Zach. Like he literally felt close to Zach and Dan. If she had just said, don't put up Zach, I think he would have been okay with that. And, I don't think there would have been a problem there. Like she could have just told him like, I'm not putting up Zach, but any of the other guys would be okay. And I think
Mhm.
this would have gone much better for her as a result. So I don't
Oh, yeah.
understand why she was so upset by what he said. And she literally asked him what he wanted to do. So like, I don't understand what the problem was here.
I know. It's like, what?
Yeah, so Zach goes to her, says he wants her to be seen as the person that she is, and he's really good at reading people. Oh, yeah, sure. Definitely amazing at
Oh,
doing
yeah.
that. What he really
Of
means is
course.
he's
There,
good at
there he goes again, being cocky.
what he really means is he's good at reading people to do what he wants. And he
Yep.
says that he can tell that she isn't a vindictive or mean person and that JM is driven by his ego. Although when he's doing this, he calls him by John Martin instead of John Michael. So this immediately should have made her like not interested in wanting to work with him because he can't even remember the fucking guy's name that he wants to target. What did you think of this? Him
Oh.
calling him John Martin?
I just think it was a really like cocky and frustrating move because like it's just a big red flag because he's just being really mean and petty to him.
Yeah, it was really, really unnecessary, I
Like
think.
his like literally him targeting him is the stupidest reason.
Yeah, so she thinks if she were to put him up, he will gun for HOH and he's probably going to take himself off and she'd have to backdoor him and she's going to look like an idiot if Zach is feeding her bullshit right now, which he assures her that he's not. So, but even though, again, this entire thing benefits him and doesn't really
Wait a
benefit
second.
Santina.
Did you put did your autocorrect or your hype hold instead of hope?
Oh, I guess it did.
Just like Sabrina instead of Santina.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, you got Zach calling John Michael John Martin. Meanwhile, my autocorrect is calling Hope Hold. So
Yes,
that's how
it's
it's going
Sabrina
right
and
now.
Hold.
Listen. When you don't have feeds, it's kind of hard to remember people's names. I
Oh,
can't
I
really blame
know.
my autocorrect. They also miss the feeds.
Yep.
But anyway, Hope talks to JM a little bit and says he will vote her way, and he spent the time during their breakfast to try to get to know her, but he feels that there is a facade that she is a little elusive with her answers. A little,
Wait,
I feel like, is putting it lightly. She's incredibly elusive this
wait, who are
entire
they
week.
talking about here? Santina?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that while putting him up would be good TV, he doesn't think it will be, and Hope doesn't think there should be any worries this week. JM says he isn't certain of his read on her at the moment, and I actually really like their dynamic a lot. I think that
Me
these two
too.
actually could have gone quite far, and considering that Hope isn't in the greatest position right now, like he's good with the guys, but he's clearly not anybody's number one in that alliance. I
Yeah.
actually think that working with JM really could have worked to his benefit. Like he kind of does what I think Zach should have done.
Yeah, because Zach's final two is tie.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out, but I did really like this scene. Um, So the house guests are then all called to the pantry. They get pizza and drinks, but there's a bit of a twist. They're going to be handcuffed in pairs just for 24 hours. We see Renee and Hope are paired, and it's a bit rough because he ends up farting while they're walking, and it's a bit hard to go to the bathroom. That was actually kind of a funny scene.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, when that happened, we see Vanessa and Anika are paired, and Vanessa mentions to her that it's harder for her to connect with everyone being older, and she really hasn't talked much game. I feel like this is like all we hear about from Vanessa this week. It's like nobody's talking to me. I'm not making connections.
She's very like her and Daniel are kind of purpled.
Yeah, they really Daniel more so, Daniel less so than her, especially towards the end, but definitely Vanessa's like really not in the show much, and it's unfortunate.
I know. She's just kind of like there.
Yeah, I literally keep forgetting she's there.
But she seems like a very nice person.
Yeah, and like she had like really great energy preseason, but it's just not. It doesn't seem like they're doing much with her. So Anika assures her that she isn't here to play a dirty game at all. And Claudia and Ty are paired, and they're definitely flirting it up a bit while chatting. And it seems like there is a bit of a potential connection between these two. What do you think of them as a potential showmance this season?
I mean, okay. Obviously, like when I first heard about them, I'd be like, okay, like if they like each other, I mean, I'm happy for them. Mm-hmm. But just watching them, it's just like it's very awkward. Like it's just very like dry between them, and they seem like they're just more of a flirtmance and not really like trying to like have a showmance kind of thing. I feel because they both trust different people, so it's just very like their conversations are usually just very awkward, and it seems like he's kind of leading her on.
Yeah, there is unfortunate, and I hate to say this because these two they seem like they like each other. They have a nice connection. I enjoy watching them. But I cannot think of a showmance in Big Brother recently that has had this little of chemistry in a very long time. I do not see any connection between these two whatsoever. I don't see them lasting. There's already a lot of clashing between them.
I think they're probably just flirting, doing a flirtmance now, not like a showmance. Well,
I think Claudia likes him. Like, I think that's legitimate. I just think Ty, the way he treats her this week, this is not beneficial for her in any way, and she needs to move away from this like as soon as possible, because I don't think this is one of the, because this happens a lot in Big Brother. Like when you're in a showmance, everybody wants to target you, but they can't because people see you as like a pair that they want to get on their side. I don't see that happening for Claudia and Ty this season. I just don't think they're going to last very long at all. I could be wrong, but right now I am not seeing it.
Yeah.
So we see they talk a bit about nominees, and he thinks that he's fine, and she brings up how she thinks the guys might be working together. Outright says that to him.
Yes,
and he says that he really just feels the best with Jonathan. Also, can we just talk about the fact this cast is not beating around the bush at all this season? They just get right into it, and it is very interesting to watch.
I know. I wish we had it on feeds.
I know, literally, like, I want to see these conversations. But like, he says that he was open to get to, he says that, and I feel like this was a good cover for Ty. He says he really just feels the best with Jonathan, but was open to get to know her more besides his initial thoughts, and says that she likes him the more she gets to know him on a personal level, and thinks they could work really well, in addition to thinking that he's very attractive. So at this point, it seems like things are okay with Claudia and Ty. It was like, okay, they like each other. That's fine. But
that time was fine. Like after the rest of the episodes, it's like,
we'll talk a bit more about them later. But right now, I'm like, okay, they're fine. So everyone detaches from each other. Santina then takes the time to talk to Rob, but wants to get to know him more on a personal level. He shows her some yoga poses he does as a personal trainer. Doesn't really get much of anywhere. Like I said, the majority of Santina's conversations are her just kind of being like, well, I have a target, and we'll see how it goes. And it
seems like both like Santina and Shania like Rob.
That's an interest. Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. There's a lot of romance in this house.
There's on one of these episodes, Claudia said it's a very flirty house.
Yeah, this is a very flirty house for sure. And I think we're only seeing the beginnings of it. Probably one of the more flirty houses I can think of in a while. But yeah, when it comes to this whole thing, anytime Santina talks to somebody as HOH, she gives them so little to work with, and this is just another example of that.
Yeah, she's just like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. A lot of non-answers.
Yeah. Like, I don't even dislike her. I just think she needs to, like, get
No,
better
I
with,
just
like,
think her HOH
better
was fucking horrible.
she just needs to be a better strategist and, like, think things better and, like, have better
Yeah.
conversations with people.
Yeah.
Okay. Kuzi and Anika talk about how Claudia is already getting into a potential showmance with Ty, and they both hope not to because it will mess up their game, and they both want her out as soon as possible. Ooh. Well, she's. No, I feel like she would turn on Ty in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, we'll get into it later, but yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think so.
Oh yeah. Anika also mentions they can't joke around about it because the more they do it, it will happen, and she's also very worried about Claudia, Renee, Dan, and JM.
Right, which is
Kuzi,
interesting.
yeah. Kuzi feels she is losing track of what's actually going on, that there is a guys' alliance, and she tries to reel her back in, and that they need to be wary of all the guys because they will eliminate smaller players to them and keep each other.
Yeah, so I have two minds about this. One, I really like the dynamic between Kuzi and Anika. It seems
Me
like these
too.
two, at least from what I'm gathering, because again, we don't have feeds, so we can't clarify this. It seems like these two are like ride or dies. Like they're probably like the closest allies. I always see. It seems like all the time we see them. It's like Kuzi's talking to Anika and things like that. They're working very closely together. I don't think they're on the same page at all game wise because Anika seems to be way too focused on like we got to go for these people and Kuzi wants to go for these people, and it doesn't
Yeah.
even seem like they're having like the same conversation here. Like she's talking more about how we got to make sure Claudia is not tied to Ty because we really want the girls to stick together, while Anika seems to think that these four are like dangerous, and it's interesting to see how that's gonna go.
Yeah. All right. Anika goes to Santina to attempt to see where her head is at. And she tells her if other people are talking behind her, she has her back and brings up how good a game JM is playing. And she's worried if she went on the block, she'd be in danger. And if she doesn't, she will have her back throughout the game and she can trust her. And Santina tells her she isn't sure what she's thinking. And Anika warns her that JM will tell her exactly what she wants to hear. And Santina, once again, is acting very standoffish and robotic during their conversation.
Yeah, and I thought Anika honestly did a good job here. Like she's
She did.
giving her very good points, and Santina's
Mm-hmm.
just not listening at all.
I know. Like Anika's like playing fine, but she's also like I don't know, like she's just kind of like very middle of the road right now.
Yeah, I do think she handled herself well in these conversations.
This conversation was great though. Like
Yeah,
she did give good points.
yeah,
She then takes the time to talk to Dan, who has been trying to talk to her all day. She tells him that she wants to meet with him and a couple other people, and when he asks her if she plans to put him up, she says she has an idea but doesn't want to say it yet. And he gets her to basically say she is putting him up but is unsure why, and she says it really come down to a lack of communication, and he's quite disappointed and caught off guard by this, which makes sense.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, again, I think Dan was like really trying to like see where her head's at, and she's just like, "Yeah, no, I'm putting you up." Like she didn't
Yeah,
try.
I
That's what I'm saying.
know.
Like these house guests, they don't even beat around the bush. They just go right for the jugular, and this was an example of it.
Exactly. Vanessa gets called to the diary room and she reads that Canada has been voting for one of them to receive the Bel Air Direct Eviction Protection Insurance, which is very long.
Yeah.
So, Bel Air Direct Eviction
or the Beppy for short.
She says the house guest chosen cannot be nominated and is safe for the week. The person Canada chose to save is Claudia, and she's very excited, but she was not expecting to see her name up there. It means so much to her that people are
I mean,
voting
like
for her.
we said, it was super random. Like we expected for it to be somebody that like you wouldn't expect.
I mean, I'm here for it. Like I like hers, but it was definitely random.
It led to nothing. Like I don't understand what the point of this was, especially
I
this early.
know. Yeah, it was just kind of like, why?
And not that I think Claudia would have been targeted anyway, but like this was pointless.
Yeah, it didn't really mean a lot at all.
No.
Danielle, I almost called him Danielle. I seem to do that when someone's name is Daniel.
You have done that a lot.
Daniel is jealous that he didn't win Canada's fave. Hope tells him to give them a reason to vote for him, which he seems to not take very well. But Hope tells him he was just joking. JM comes into the room and asks what the vibe is and what is going on. He tells him he is jealous but happy for him. But JM asks him and Anika if they know anything he should know about because he feels like no one is talking to him about anything. And Daniel says he's been feeling that way the whole time. And Anika is also very stressed. JM feels this is not good and is worried that it may be one room against the other and lets them know he just wanted to let them know how he feels. And Daniel says he just hopes his niceties
Yeah.
niceties are enough.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like the room versus room thing. It's so boring. Like just make it just like, especially week 1, it's pointless. And this is why you shouldn't have the rooms assigned to them. Like have them just pick as they go, because then we don't run to this issue.
I'm pretty sure it was BB Can 6. They had like the white and the red room or whatever it was.
But were they assigned?
I'm trying to remember.
Because at least it seems like from the way people have been talking that it's like a recent thing and it's never happened.
I know, maybe I don't know if it says. It just says wasn't. It's just people who I don't know. I actually don't remember if they were assigned or not. Maybe not. Maybe they were just like put in those rooms.
Hopefully not, because it's really stupid when it happens.
But BB Can 6 is a great season. You'd love it.
Okay, actually, no. It does say here the house began to divide based on where everyone was sleeping. So it has happened before.
Okay, yeah.
In BB Can 6. So maybe they were assigned.
You would love that season. It's so good.
I probably won't ever watch it because Big Brother is impossible to binge, but maybe at some point. Anyway,
honestly, binge it on like a flight or something.
I probably won't, but anyway, we see Anika talks to Santina that she needs to start a thinking game. She tells her that having her this is still you.
No, it's okay.
Okay. She tells her having her is 100% not going to affect her game because she's not competitive with comps. She wouldn't say that she's a floater, but kind of because she doesn't have those strong alliances, whereas people who do, JM, Dan, Claudia, and Renee, they're super tight. JM especially has a super strong personality and is very much going to affect her game, but having her here won't affect her. She didn't want to go to the HOH right away and force it because she doesn't want to be one of those people, which I don't understand this. Like, you should want to go to the HOH immediately, not just like hold off and wait for other people, especially because like information is like, it's good to put into.
I get what she means. Like, yeah, it's good to go talk to the HOH, but like kind of wait until I just think, yeah, maybe waiting is good so it doesn't look like she's just trying to kiss her ass.
No, I don't think it's kissing her ass though. I think it's like giving her ideas of what she wants to do.
Yeah.
Especially because the way Santina handled this HOH, it literally was based on like who did I talk to the least. And I just feel like if you want to prevent that, go to her immediately and talk to her, and then that's not even an issue. So basically, Santina's now thinking if she wants to put up JM early, why not just do it right away? Which she is so back and forth with this the entire episode. She goes to Zach and Ty, brings up to them that she's planning to put him up because of how much of a threat he really is to them, not to her, to them. Let's remember that it's them, not her. So yeah, if that tells you how little agency she has this HOH, I don't know what does. We get another very
she literally gives people false hope.
Kind of. Not right. I wouldn't say she gives them false hope. I would say she doesn't really give them a chance.
Because like she said she was gonna keep Anika safe, but she put her up.
Well, we're not there yet, but yeah. Zach talks to her, says that the best thing long-term is to backdoor him, mainly so he won't be able to do anything about it. And he brings up how they need to bring Dan in, and Anika he doesn't see as a threat. Meanwhile, John Michael is the most hated person in the house, and if she takes him out, she will do whatever what everyone wanted right away, and they get the guy they want to ride with, and a girl that doesn't matter and will be loyal to her, and she does all of this in silence, and that no one in the house will use the veto when they tell them not to, but if she changes her mind, he will be good, and she assured him that she won't. Again, he's just really trying to control her HOH here, and she's just letting him. She's not even trying to like move in a different direction. She's just letting him control her HOH. So I wouldn't even blame Zach at this point. I entirely blame Santina for this because she could have easily just been like, this is not really what I have in mind, and she didn't even try. So Yeah, he says that we get this really stupid line where he's like, I'm a chameleon. I get along with everybody. No one has had more success in this house than him. And he's always downplayed it because he doesn't want a target on his back. And once again says JM is in love with him and he has to go the safest route. And it's what keeps her the most protected. And she tells him he is a smart businessman and he just straight up agrees. She says she doesn't see it as him manipulating her HOH, even though that's literally what he's doing, because at the end of the day, it is her choice, which it's kind of not. He's very much putting this idea into her head. So yeah, before nominations, we see Santina tells Renee. So basically, yeah, again, nothing really changed here. He very much had all the influence over her HOH, but before nominations, she tells Renee to take a seat on the block for coming in dead last in the comp. She decides to nominate Dan and Anika. And her reasons, again, were just because they haven't really connected on a game level. And that's really all we get.
Also, she said that Dan is one of the last people who came and talked to her.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said. But yeah. This, again, Tuesday's episode was honestly pretty good. I thought it gave us a better idea of where everyone's kind of at. I cannot say the same for Wednesday's episode, which half of Wednesday's episode is very much the Zach show. You get a lot of just seeing Zach's perspective, which it's like, we already know where his head's at. I don't know why we need to see more of him. The other half is
not great.
Something else that we'll get into, but Wednesday's episode was really not that great. We see Santina is feeling pretty solid about her nominations, but is hoping that the both of them will be safe so she can successfully backdoor JM, who she views as the biggest threat right now. Dan is not surprised to be on the block, but doesn't think that he is Santina's target, but he's going to try to do everything to solidify his safety. And we don't see any of what he ends up doing. Like, Dan was like such a non-factor this entire week. And that's not good when you're one of the nominations. So
yeah.
I mean, I assume he did more. They just didn't show it. I would hope, at least, but, never know. But Anika was told before nominations about Santina's real plan, but she doesn't like this feeling of being on the block at all. Renee is feeling very unsettled after being forced onto the block, so she pulls Shania aside and said they need to solidify something, and that Santina is much tighter with the guys, and she's going to continue to fight as hard as she can. I know you really like Renee a lot. What did you think of her pitch to Shania here?
Oh, I mean, I thought she was really good. Like, honestly, she's not like my number one, but I do really like her. I thought she actually was very smart here because she actually has some good points. And because obviously she's very upset she's on the block, but she also handled it the best way. But she definitely, it's good that she's trying to make effort more with the girls too, because she obviously wants the girls to stay safe. And she's definitely just trying hard to stay and get those numbers on her side.
Yeah, I do like Renee. I will say the way she handles things this week, I'm kind of worried that she's playing too hard too fast, and I don't know.
No, I don't think so at all.
Oh, I think she is, because I think people are already kind of seeing through it. But we'll see. So Ty talks to Zach and says that the two of them could dictate the entire game, which is absolutely what we don't want to see. Please, no. Zach is feeling really good 1 week in, having made alliances with Rob, Jonathan, Ty, and Santina. And Ty, he sees as his ride or die right now. He thinks that the five of them can control basically everything and thinks that getting into Santina's ear when he did and having influence over her is going to help him. He also loves being a man of influence. Again, he loves having the upper hand.
There we go again, being cocky.
Yeah, like I said, this episode is very much the Zach show. We get a lot of Zach in this episode, which if you're a Zach fan, great. If you're not a Zach fan, better luck next episode because this is not the one. Renee talks to him, says that she hopes that the nominations stay the same, that he keeps her around, and that she has a lot to offer despite them not talking much game. And he assures her that he does want to play this game with her because they are on similar trajectories in terms of skill set. And he expresses concerns for all the guys constantly being in a room together. And this is what I have a problem with, because she makes it clear she's not going to let him do that this season, but that she's really worried on the paranoia of previous players. He says he doesn't want to play that game, and she says at some point someone will call it out, and he thinks that this campaign is really bad for some reason, even though he's literally the person that brought up that like all the guys are in a room together. So like I don't know why.
He is not really that good of a strategist either.
No, he's really not. And like he could be, but his ego is like always getting in the way. It's like, wait, you want to target my bros? How dare you? Like, they're my guys. No, you don't come for us like that. Like, you literally said that like you don't want the guys to all be in a room together. Like, what did you think she was gonna say?
Yeah, I don't literally. Everybody knows.
So yeah, he does say that getting rid of JM gets the biggest target in the house, and it puts him in a tough spot. To be sure, he's likely the biggest threat out there. So Zach then expresses to Ty that he doesn't trust Renee really at all, that they may have to get her out, and they may have gotten lucky that she fell into their lap, and he thinks that they can get the votes. So Rob comes in, they explain what's going on. Rob seems to not want Renee out, thinking that she could be a good asset. And though he does have a good relation with Zach, he does think both of them will eventually have to make a choice. I really think he just
honestly, I kind of thought this Renee and Rob duo would have been interesting too. This dynamic.
Yeah, too bad it's not going to go anywhere. Spoilers, but
yeah, spoiler
anyway. Yeah, but I really think Zach just went way too hard trying to go for Renee here. I don't understand why.
Because going for her was literally not smart at all.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made any sense. But Santina goes to Zach, and he brings up how little trust he has in her, and she doesn't like how much she wants the girls to stick together. And he thinks that she will become a floater who can play both sides, which he is not using that term correctly. He's talking about a coaster, but that's a whole different thing. He says that he'll do whatever she wants. But if she
can also there's nothing wrong with floaters and coasters.
There's definitely something
because Paris was a floater and Maddie was a coaster in 6, and they were amazing. So
there's definitely something wrong with being a coaster. There is nothing wrong with being a floater.
I mean, sometimes it really depends how you play.
Well, a coaster literally means you're not playing, whereas a floater is like you're playing both sides.
Yeah. Well, Maddie was actually a better coaster.
Maddie was a floater, not a coaster, because if Maddie was a coaster...
Just from what I was told, that's what people thought. That's what someone thought.
Well, then she didn't play the game.
Oh, she did. You'd love her.
Well, we'll see if I ever watch that season, which I probably won't. But anyway, let's get back on track with this season. She says that he'll do whatever she wants, but if she can consider Renee, they could hold off on JM for a week. She does understand his point and thinks going for Renee would get the least amount of blood on her hands, but Zach is very good at talking, and she doesn't know if this is in her best interest. And I was like, yes, finally, don't do exactly what he wants here. So he thinks for their long-term game, they have to get her out. So, like I said, a bunch of this episode is dedicated to the Zach show. The other half of this episode is petty showman's high school bullshit, and this is a perfect example of that. We see the scene with Shania. Literally felt like I was watching a fucking like CW show at this point. She talks about how her and Rob have been spending a lot of time throughout the house, and she really likes him. We see a scene of Santina like giving him a facial, and Shania cries to Claudia about feeling like a second choice, and she feels so dumb and doesn't want to work with someone who is just flirting with her to further a game. And she doesn't think he is, but she can't help but feel that way. And Renee then console her.
It could be Renee and Shania's ship name.
Yeah, I don't understand why they needed to show all this. You literally met this guy like 2 weeks ago. I just, why do we need to see this? This was pointless. I don't understand.
Yeah, that was just filler. We didn't really need.
Yeah, especially like I don't understand what the point of this was. Claudia then talks about how this is a really flirty house and it's very easy to get mixed signals. And what does this lead to? Another moment between her and Ty.
This was so awkward to watch.
We see that they're talking a little bit about missing home, and they flirt a little bit, and they talk a bit about game. And he brings up how Renee could be the target, and she hates the fact that she may be going because she sees her as her closest ally in the house right now. Again, want to reiterate, these two are not good for each other in terms of game. Like sometimes after the season, that's great, but they are not on the same page at all. And you can see that through every conversation that they have.
Yep.
So
It's
yeah,
just very, like, robotic to watch.
yeah, it's so stiff and awkward. But well, I mean, maybe it'll change. Maybe they'll have a deeper connection and it'll actually go somewhere. But right now, I don't see it at all.
Me
Um,
neither.
so it's time for the veto comp, where Daniel and Ty. And here's the other thing: they spend so much time on the showmanship, but we don't even get to see like what players are picked. That was a deleted
Oh,
scene for some
no.
reason. We don't even get to see what players are picked. We don't get to see why these players are picked. And it's like, what's even the point of watching the episode if you're not even going to fill in those gaps? We don't
Yeah,
have
literally.
again, these episodes are
We
should be providing us context, and they're not. When you're giving us shit like this that we don't need.
Yep.
So yeah, we go right into the veto. We see Daniel and Ty are competing alongside the three nominees. The comp, basically, it's like they had to make their own slop,
We need
basically.
BB Can? We
Oh,
need
we have a
these.
comment from someone named A Conversation with Kely.
That
But
was
yes, I agree. We
That's
need
because I'm
feeds.
trying to that's so BB can know that we need feeds back.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to be watching this right now. They're tuning in.
Oh,
They're
yeah, for
the
sure.
0 viewers. But
That'd be
yeah,
so
they
funny.
had to make their own slop in this comp. I thought this was honestly kind of stupid. Basically, they have to drain the sauce into a giant mix bowl, add the sauce until it's nice and chunky, and then carry the slop back across the floor. Ty wins the veto here, and yeah, Allie will talk a little bit about what happens after.
All right. Zach tells Rob this can be an easy week either way, and that Renee is probably going home, and she's an easy target. Everyone wants out, and if she stays, she already is against them. And Rob asks who they would put up against JM this next week, and Zach mentions Anika. Rob
I
sees
don't
this,
know why he was still on the fucking Renee train. It was so obvious that people didn't want to do it.
yeah. Rob sees this as a dumb move either way, which is true.
But yeah,
Like
very
Rob actually has some sense into him.
some. Yeah, not all. It's some.
Yeah. Better than Zach.
Yeah.
Santina comes in and says she doesn't think JM has a clue he will be put up with, but has a feeling Ty is using the veto. And Rob tries to vouch for Renee, and that isn't a threat on their side, as he feels close to her. However, Zach still seems steadfast on her going. Zach expresses his annoyance with Rob to Ty, and they talk with Santina. And then we get some unnecessary segment about Renee cooking a HelloFresh meal.
Why did we need this? Like,
Like,
again, this could have been shown, like, picking the players. We could have seen why those players were picked. But no, we got to show off our sponsors because that's
I
all
will
the
say
has to stand on.
HelloFresh is great and all, but we don't need that.
We do love HelloFresh, but do we love it incorporated in an episode that, again, is supposed to
No.
provide us context of what happened? No, we do not. Save that shit for when they're going to commercial. We don't need it now.
Exactly. Claudia goes to Ty and she thinks that something is up with him, and he doesn't seem to give her an idea of what he's doing, which sketches her out. And oh my god. Renee goes to Santina and says that she thinks it's important for her to find people she can work the game with, and once she gives her loyalty, it is locked in, and she hopes this can flourish into something. She says paranoia will go insane, and she will be there for her no matter what.
Yeah, which I thought this was a pretty good campaign from Renee. And actually, it's one of the only campaigns Santina actually listens to and is like willing to hear out, which I like.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Santina actually wants to work with her and doesn't know if it actually makes sense to send her home and see value in working with her.
Yeah, so again, I actually think this was a good moment for Santina. Rare did I say that this week, but this was a good moment for her.
Yeah. We get another awkward moment between Claudia and Ty in the
my
snow
favorite.
room. Oh yeah, in the snow room where he seems to be in a mood and things are rubbing him the wrong way, and she asks if she did something wrong, and he says he's trying to figure out what kind of player she is, and he brings up her wearing Rob's sweater, and she asks if he thinks she's being too flirty, and he says she needs to think about how it makes them look and that they are judging each other off of perception, and says if she thinks he's going to cuddle with her after she's wearing another guy's sweater. Isn't this supposed to say sweater, not hair?
No, he said hair.
Oh, hair, yeah. And he says the fact he's having this conversation with her is growth in his part. And she seems confused by the whole conversation, what he's getting at. Yeah, this
As
is
am
like
I. Like, what is he really upset about here? She
he
wore
was
some other
literally like
guy's sweater.
seems like he was just like literally being very just being like he's gaslighting her.
Yeah, he's gaslighting her. He's trying to question like what her motive is. He's trying to make her seem like there's like something wrong with her doing this. I wasn't a fan of this at all. I
Mhm.
don't understand why he was so like, oh, why would you wear his sweatshirt? And
That
then he's
literally
like,
kind of gives vibes of like Monty treating Taylor.
no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that because Monty treating Taylor is a whole separate issue
Yeah,
based on
that's
like the
true.
perception of like black women and things like that. So I
Well,
wouldn't say
yeah.
that's a good
No, I think
comparison.
it was no, like it was like what was that thing he was mad at her about the headphones?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
headphones.
that was the moment I'm talking about.
Kind of, but this is more based on like, I don't want you talking to any other guys or flirting with any other guys in this house. Like the way he was coming off, it just seemed like she is only allowed to like flirt with him. But the thing is, like, they haven't even like solidified anything. Like, yes, they're close, but like they're not like a full like showmance
Yeah.
yet. So I didn't even understand what he was
Just like
upset about.
trying to control her and like lead her on and just be
Yeah,
very
this whole thing was stupid. Like,
toxic.
again, these two are not lasting. I don't see it
No.
happening.
Oh
Maybe,
god,
like I
no.
said, after the game, but in the game, no, they're not. They're
No.
not good for each other.
Oh god, not at all. Anika goes to Ty and she brings up how she picked him to play in the comp and that he needs to show her his loyalty because it will look shady otherwise, which makes sense.
Yeah,
He says if he does pull her off, people are already suspicious they're working together, but if he leaves her on the block, they will think otherwise, and he needs her to trust him and make it clear she is not going home. And she says no one wants to be a target the first week because she will then be an easy target and it will put her as too vulnerable in front of everyone.
yeah, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, why didn't we get to see a segment of Anika picking Ty and her reasoning for picking Ty? It was like,
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
would like
if
to see that.
because the thing that they have to remember again is that we don't have those feeds. And for people that aren't watching the digital dailies, someone would watch this episode and then be like, wait, what? She picked Ty? When did this happen? Exactly. We didn't see it. So
Yeah, literally, like I would like to see some of this happening.
we just had to see Renee cook that HelloFresh meal. That was what was most important.
It's
And
so
we had to
funny.
see Ty and Claudia be awkward for like the 4th time.
He asks her who should go in her place if it is used, and she says she wants JM to go home because he knows the game too well and is very strategic and good at comms, and he agrees to it.
See, I think it would have done her a lot better to present her with a different name because she already was thinking of like he already was going for JM in the first place. And I think if she would have given him a different name here, I think it could have steered him in a different direction. But
Yeah.
and that's the main thing with Anika. Like, she has the right idea. I just don't think she has a full understanding of how the game works yet. And I think that is hurting her.
Oh, yeah. JM goes to Santina, and Dan and they talk about tickling, and she jokingly says if he were to tickle her, she wouldn't like it, but says she loves him on a personal level.
This was intense at first. He was like, wait, what? You don't like me? And she was like, no, I like you on a personal level, but on a game, I don't know.
I know, that was crazy.
Yeah.
He brings up and tells her that he's feeling uneasy, especially not knowing what is actually happening. And she says it's hard for people to know where her head is at unless she trusts them. And he says whatever happens at the veto, he will do whatever she wants. And the only person that has campaigned to him is Renee. Whereas Anika hasn't talked to him much at all. And she says he will never know what's going on behind closed doors. And she thinks he may be kissing her ass. And just because they won the first challenge doesn't mean she owes him her game.
And that's not what he's saying. He's saying that, like, this is somebody he wants to work with. They made it clear to each other that they are not going for each other. And she's immediately, like, backtracking. And that's the problem. Like, that's... I think that is the fundamental flaw. If she had never said to him, like, you are 100% safe, I don't think he would be as upset as he is right now.
I know. It is now time for the veto ceremony. As expected, Ty does end up using the veto on Anika, which then ends up with JM being put on the block in her place.
Yeah, so we get to Thursday's episode, and I will say Thursday's episode I thought was actually really good. There is a lot of intrigue heading into the next week. We see JM is very annoyed that Santina lied and gaslit him and now put him on the block. He finds it incredibly shady and hopes people realize she is going back on her word. Daniel, we get actually a fair amount of content from Daniel in this episode, which was good.
We do, yeah, which is good.
He feels that this is going to be a messy season with a backdoor already happening week 1. We see Santina talks to Zach and Ty, and she thinks she did the right thing with as big of a fan as JM is of the game, and therefore knows it better than most, as well as having a stellar social game. She makes it clear her loyalty is with them no matter what, which Zach is on cloud 9 here because he thinks he has all the power and influence this week, and they just got to keep things going. Thankfully, we don't get much of Zach in this episode. We take a break from the Zach train a bit, and we get to focus on other players in the game, which is good. We see Ty talks to Anika. She thanks him and says that he has shown her his trust towards her and wants to work with him very closely now. So could be a potential dynamic between those two.
I mean, I'm kind of here for that.
Yeah, and I mean, this
because
actually
they have more, like a little more chemistry than Ty and Claudia.
Well, the other thing is that, like, we know that Kuzi's close to Ty as well, and that could kind of pull them together. Because, like I said, I think
yeah,
Kuzi
yeah,
like
that would be a very interesting trio, actually.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But
yeah.
Santina talks to JM a little bit, and he's annoyed that everything she said to him means nothing now. And it's lame because when they stood in this room, they said they keep each other safe, and now he is feeling backdoored. And all he wanted was the opportunity to show her loyalty and said that they could rule the house together. He says he doesn't know who got in her ear, and she basically tells him this was like entirely her own thoughts, which you can tell that he thinks is bullshit.
Yeah.
And knowing how much he knew this game and doesn't understand why she'd feel this way with how much he would rally for a woman in power. When she walks away, he says no one will respect her now and basically calls her delusional. And I don't think he said anything wrong here. Like, I think he pretty much said, like, what she did wrong. And I think JM really puts in, like, a lot of work to try to save himself here. And I was very much
here for great. It. Oh, I respect him a lot for it.
Very much like fighting until the last minute. So he talks to Shania, Claudia, and Renee, who are very much becoming like a very dangerous trio. Like these three are to watch out for. Like,
which I mean, if they make it far, I mean, I'm here for it.
Yeah, like if they get through another week, I could see them potentially running the game. And I think they're just as strong of a force as the guys, especially because the guys are already kind of turning against each other. So. He brings up to them how he doesn't understand why she sees him as her nemesis, especially when he expressed wanting to work with her, and taking him out makes her the prominent target next week. He starts breaking down, said he's having a really hard time campaigning against Dan and would never want to go up against Renee too. And it's so hard after being told multiple times he was safe, and all of them try to console him. So this was a good moment. I think it gets him in the good graces with the girls, but then it also shows him being like emotionally vulnerable. We get another moment with Ty and Claudia where he asks her about her ideal first dates, and they kind of talk through that, and then they're talking in the snow room, and all of a sudden they end up sharing a kiss. Oh my God, amazing. Love it so much. Let's move on. Revolutionary, honestly.
For sure.
Santina goes into a room. She finds a message in a book that says the unseen game, but she doesn't know what to make of it beyond that. Shania nearly like catches her in the act there. What did you think of this? We don't really get any follow-up on this besides this. Like, what did you think of this message?
I mean, I'm sure she's a little skeptical now. I mean, I wish we got to see more. I wish we had feed so much. Because this is the kind of stuff we want to see. Like, she might have caught her finding some kind of clue, some kind of advantage. Who knows? Like, if like Santina found something, she could at least, now that Shania saw it, maybe she could have like told her, and it would give her some, like, somebody that would potentially have her back.
But who knows? We don't get to see any of that. We see what we do get to see is Dan talking to Daniel, and really just getting a sense that I don't think Dan is very long for this game at all.
No, sadly.
He wants to talk to him a bit more. It's not good for him to be comfortable. Daniel, on the other hand, feels like he has no idea what's going on. He brings up that he hates the fact that JM is backdoored and he wants to fight, but he's not just going to do what the house wants. And if he wants to form a team, he hopes that he can be a part of it. Dan says that he just wants to have conversations and make it all the way to the end. Daniel feels he's getting nothing for a campaign, which, we got nothing here. Listen, I know I said preseason that I think Dan could be underrated. I'm not seeing that anymore. I do not
Not
see Dan
really.
as a dark horse at
He's
all.
just not doing well.
He's really not. Like, I feel like he's not making the connections that he needs to make. And when he tries to, he's just not really explaining himself that well. So
Yeah.
yeah, at this point, I see him going like week 3 or week 4. I don't see him
Same.
going very far at all. Maybe that'll change, but right now I just don't see it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, especially how he's handled things the next week. Spoilers. Yeah, JM talks to Vanessa, says that she had a chat with everyone, and that's always in a mothering role. But no one is really talking with her, and she's not fitting any place. He says that to her that he wants her to break the house into 2 and only go for whoever put him on the block. And he's hoping to get Hope.
Another moment with Vanessa, which is good.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, Vanessa's still here. I literally keep forgetting she's in the house because they don't show her that much.
They don't.
But he wants to get Hope and most of the girls to keep him. He brings up to her that he thinks he can get 6 votes on his side and that they could work together with these people. And she thinks that he's offering her an opportunity to be a part of something. And we don't see this go really anywhere because this is literally all we get of Vanessa in this episode.
I know.
Yeah, again, just they need to show more of Vanessa because we don't really know what game she's playing. We don't know where her head's at. We don't know anything. So again, yet another thing we need to see more of. So Hope then talks to Daniel and says that he wants to go for Dan or Renee because he doesn't want someone to go that is fighting as hard as JM is. Daniel seems very skeptical about flipping. And Hope brings up Vanessa. Daniel doesn't think that she'd be on board, says he doesn't see a logical path for him to do it unless he can get in with some guys. And it's not going to work without them being big targets. He wants to do it, but knows it's going to put them in a bad spot if they do it. And he doesn't want to go to war this early, which makes sense. I think this definitely made sense. It's like you don't want to do this unless you know for sure, like you have the votes. But it was frustrating to see Hope really wanting to make this happen and Daniel just being like, I don't think the votes are there. Like I really was like rooting for Hope in this moment where it's like, oh my God, they could actually turn this around. And then it doesn't amount to much.
Exactly.
So.
Jam talks to Kuzi and brings up how split the house is because people want to work with Santina, and she asks what Santina does for them, despite having power that ends in 2 days.
Yeah, but I got the sense that Kuzi does not want to work with Santina here.
No. And he can't think of anything and says he thinks he can get the numbers if there are 3 noms. There are 11 who vote and 6 need to vote for one person that isn't him. Kuzi says she doesn't want to see him go because he's going to help her game the damage that he is trying to do and will also take him out some people for her. He says he thinks he needs Renee because if he can convince her to get Claudia and Shania to vote his way, it's a guarantee. She brings up that Dan looks like the bigger threat, so this backdoor plan may actually not work, and she's heard from quite a few people it isn't the smartest move to take him out, and she wants him to do what he can to save himself.
And again, I was like, yes, let's go, Kuzi. Let's save JM here. I'm very much here for this.
So good.
Like this was shaping up to be potentially a really exciting eviction, but we'll
I
get
know.
into it.
Santina says while she is working with the boys later down the road, she wants to keep a good relationship with the girls because she doesn't know when she'll need their vote. She talks to them and says that she feels out of the loop and feels she may have been used by the guys this week and doesn't think JM would have been coming after her. She does see a little bit of a threat in him, but she doesn't know if it's the biggest one. I mean, now she's at least got a brain.
Sort of.
Kind of. Like at least at least
maybe.
she knows that the guys are playing her, especially Zach.
She does, but I also am wondering like how much of this of her being legit and how much of this her just trying to like pick the girl's brain.
Yeah. And she knows the guys will be voting him out, and Shania says
I almost said Shania.
It's because you forgot the other A.
Oh.
And Shania says JM will go after those guys, especially now, and she feels close to him and thinks that he will ride with them and will make the moves that are harder for them to make.
Yeah, which is a really good pitch. And I was very much here for this.
Me too. Hope is suspicious the girls may have something going on due to how much talking they are always doing.
Why was he like upset about this? Like he clearly is not on the same page with the guys. He wants JM to stay. He knows that there are girls that want JM to stay. Like just link up with them and like make something happen.
Yeah, I don't know what Hope is trying to do here.
That's why I said, like, I feel like he's more of like, he's here to like hype people up and motivate them. Like, I don't think he's really playing the game that well at all.
Yeah, let's call him Hype Hope.
Honestly, he gives them hope.
Daniel talks to him about it, and he feels there is an all-girls alliance going on, and Daniel is confused due to how close Ty and Claudia are.
Yeah, which, I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we get yet another very awkward scene between the two.
Yep. Ty talks to Claudia and asks if she's in an all-girls alliance, and she asks why he thinks that, and denies one existing, and says they spend time together because they're girls, and asks if he has one with the guys. And he says she's being defensive. She plans to not tell him everything that's going on in her game because of how he's been acting, which is
And,
good.
like, I don't understand why
he's being very confusing, like she says.
And I don't understand why he need to ask her this now. Like, again, it's not threatening to his game because they're not specifically coming for him. All he knows is that the girls could potentially have an alliance and they could be coming for the guys. But if I'm Ty, I use this to my advantage. I use Claudia as a number. I try to get in with the girls. It's just, there's so many people who could be playing both sides and they're just not seeing it. I don't understand the tunnel vision in some of these people. Like, you have Zach who's so focused on, we got to get JM out. Oh, we got to get Renee out. You have Ty who is so loyal to Zach that, like, anybody else, he's like, oh, no. You don't even need to go. You don't go for them. You have like Daniel who doesn't really want to. You have like Hope who is skeptical of like the girls working together when he could easily work with them. Like, again, just the fucking tunnel vision. I can't.
It's so annoying. I know. Ty talks to Zach and says they have a problem because Claudia is super close to Renee and Shania. Zach suggests to pivot this week to Renee instead and tell JM he's on their team.
And I was honestly here for this because I wanted to see a scenario where like all the girls vote for like Dan and then all the guys vote for Renee. Oh, it could have been so spicy if that happened.
That would have been interesting for sure.
Unfortunately, that is not the case.
I know. JM talks to Claudia, Renee, Shania, and Kuzi that the guys see him as a number for both sides. He doesn't want the guys to run this house, and he says they are trying to pit the girls against each other, and they were scared of him and Santina working together. He says their last play is for someone to find a way to talk to Santina and bring up how well they can work with him, and he wants this to be his group and align with the powerful women. Renee thinks the guys are trying to repeat what the pretty boys did. What the pretty boys did.
Pretty girls? You just came up with a new alliance?
No, yeah, for sure. But the pretty boys did. And she wants to make a pact and have the conversations and says they got to be smart about it, which I like this. This was great. She says girls are better than that, and she's tired of men running things. They then form an alliance called the Savage Sisters, dubbed by Kuzi, which, I mean, these five literally could have done so much damage.
Oh, I was very much here for it. I was like, okay, we have JM has his 6. You pull in Hope and let's go. We can really like make something happen here.
That would have been so iconic. Ugh.
But let's get to what actually happens. We get to the vote. Each nominee is only given a 20-second final plea, which is so like unnecessarily short. There's like literally nothing you can do in 20 seconds. But Renee says that she found herself in hot water from the beginning, and it's been an uphill battle, but she has used it as an opportunity to have meaningful and important conversations with everyone, and thought that she isn't a comm threat. She has a lot of, and though she isn't a comm threat, she has a lot of other skills that can be a link to their game. I thought this was a pretty good pitch from her. She explained like, what she could do. Dan
does. Like, she definitely, because with her knowing the pretty boys and everything, like she's actually someone who's smart and knows the game.
Yeah, my worry is that people see
same
her
with Kirk, same with Kuzi, same with Claudia.
My only real concern with Renee is that people are going to really catch on to like there's a girls alliance and they're going to see her as like the ringleader and she's going to get like the brunt of the blame for it. And I think that could, because I mean she's definitely the most like vocal player when it comes to that narrative.
Which I mean, I love that. She just needs to be careful.
Oh, I do too. I just feel like these guys are just so fucking like cocky and egotistical. It's like I could very well see that being a reason she goes. So we'll see. But I'm very worried for Renee. I got to be honest.
I actually think Rob's the one who's not even that cocky. Same with John.
Oh yeah, I think they're fine.
It's like the other ones who are kind of cocky.
Like the Zach and the Ties of the world, yeah.
Yeah.
So Dan gives like the most basic plea you could. He's like, "Yeah, I love that we get to share this together, but I'm not ready to leave yet. And if I can benefit your game, I'd love to stay." It's like, yeah, great. Thanks for the absolute nothing of a plea
Thank
there.
you for
Anyway, JM,
nothing.
go ahead.
That's like, go girl, give us nothing. Woo!
No, literally. So JM says he has been apologetically himself since the beginning, and it has translated to him being viewed as the biggest player in the game. But he asked them all to tune out that noise and asked if he's truly a threat to their game. I thought this was a great plea. I thought he
It
did a
was.
great job of laying out what they needed, what would benefit them, but also what would incentivize them to keep him around. I thought he did a really good job with that, and I thought this was a really well-rounded plea all around. And I thought that this could have potentially been enough for him to stay with having the votes on his side, but unfortunately, it's not enough because by a vote of 11 to 0 to 0, JM is the first person evicted from Big Brother Canada 11.
Which
On
is
his way
sad
out, he
because
says that he probably would have won anyway.
he has so much potential, and like I'm
Yeah.
just sad like that alliance and like none of them could get the votes.
Yeah, this is what bothered me. Like, we had so much potential leading up to this eviction, and then it just like, and sometimes this happens on Big Brother. Like, you get potential, you think, oh my God, this could flip, and then it fizzles out into nothing. And I understand that they could not get the votes, and like it sucks that they didn't. There's no reason this had to be unanimous. Like, somebody could have thrown a vote somewhere. It would have been so much more exciting. The
I
fact that it was a
know.
unanimous vote, especially when there's 3 people on the block, it's just
I
really.
wanted like somebody kind of random to throw a vote.
Yeah, I wanted like Jonathan to like throw a vote on like Renee or something
Or
like that.
no, or like a Daniel or a Vanessa. Just like throw a vote on somebody.
Yeah,
Or
that would have
maybe
been
like
exciting.
make it like 11 to 1 or something.
I will say the way Arissa did it, I mean, nearly
Yeah.
gave Renee a heart attack. Like,
I
Renee thought she
know.
was leaving there.
She did not have to do that, but I love Arissa though.
Yeah.
That was
So we
intense.
get to the interview,
Scared
and
her.
Arissa brings up how he was hurt the most by Santina. With everything he brought to the table, he really thought they could have made it all the way. And being a nominee actually gave him power to talk game, and he realized people were afraid of them combining forces and running the house, which is not really what it was. I will say, like, that's not really the right read. It's really just Zach was threatened by JM wanting to go for his bros alliance, and he was like, yeah, you're not doing that, and then got into Santina's ear. Like, that's literally what happened. But he thinks basically people were scared of the house, which he perceives are all the guys. And Arissa basically tells him that he's correct on that, and also mentions that he did everything he didn't want to do, which was win first part of the HOH, try to start a large alliance, and trusted the wrong person. He's hoping he's able to cause what happened to him to cause chaos. I really think this is just a matter of a couple things. One, I do think that JM kind of played too hard too fast, but he also kind of needed to. And I think that's what kind of put him in this position. But I also think people just didn't really give him much of a chance. They saw him as this very loud and very, very vocal personality, and they were threatened by it because he could have done some real damage, and they didn't even really take the time to get to know him. And I think that's what really hurt JM, is that he was in a house with people who just didn't really want to work with him at all.
Yeah, mainly just like the guys. They just didn't give him a chance.
Yeah.
Besides like a Daniel.
Yeah, like, I don't think, because I've seen people say, oh, JM did too much, and I just don't really agree with that. I think he did what he needed to do. He tried to get into, he thought he was good with Zach. He told Zach what he would do if he was HOH. He talked to Santina, said that he wanted to work with her. Like, I think he did all the right things. I think it really just came down to the fact that there were just people that just simply did not want to work with him, and there was nothing he could do about it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yep.
So it really sucks. I think he could have gone really far, but unfortunately he gets first boot here. Anything else you want to say about JM before we talk about the rest of this?
Just hopefully he can come back for redemption and kill it, because he definitely had a lot of potential, and I'm just very sad he left early.
Yeah, he really did. He really did have a lot of potential.
But he did put up a good fight.
Yeah, he's also one of the only fans of this season, so it sucks to see him gone so early.
Like super fans, yeah.
Yeah, he's literally one of the only super fans.
And also, I remember there was like a thing I watched where he wants Renee to win, but he's also rooting for like a Claudia Kuzi final too.
I could see it for Kuzi. I'm very concerned about Claudia right now, especially with her and Ty. I feel like
Yeah, we'll
between the two,
see.
I think Ty has the upper hand,
Both
unfortunately.
like Claudia and Renee just need to be careful.
Yeah.
Kuzi, I can see.
Oh no, Kuzi I think has a really good shot of making it far because
But she's
while yes she's
well
in
with
with the
everybody.
girls, she's also good with the guys, and
Yep.
they're not coming for her anytime soon.
Hmm.
But I think like Claudia and Renee and Shania, I don't know how things are going to work out for
They
them.
have to be more subtle.
Yeah, I hope they can stick together, but they've made it way too obvious that like they're working together.
Yeah.
Even though conversely the guys have done the same thing, but the guys are probably going to be a bunch of hypocrites and they're going to get targeted for it. So,
Yep.
you know,
Pretty much.
the next HOH comp is underway. Arissa says that they each have to select one of their colored balls and race to the top of the slide, choose a lane to slide down, and on their way, try to use a shot in any of the hoops. And this should be a crapshoot comp. Each hoop is assigned to a point value. The higher the points, the tougher the shot. Once they grab another ball, they can try again. So like I said, this really should be a crapshoot, but they decide for some reason to make this comp last an entire hour, and whoever's going to rack up the most points are going to win. So you're basically making it so one of the athletic guys are probably going to win this comp. I just didn't think the logistics of that made a lot of sense. I think this could
Yeah.
have easily been a very
This is
short
also
comp.
something. This is also a comp I would love to watch on the feeds.
Well, it also was like I feel like this was a comp that they didn't even need to like have over like go over. Like they could have easily just had them like take one shot each, and then whoever
That's
gets the
true.
highest score just wins. Like it's not. We see comps like this all the time in Big Brother where it's like just take your shot and then they take their shot and then it's over. Like it goes really quick when you do it that way. But because they gave
Yep.
them an entire hour for some reason, we didn't even get to see it play out. The
I
only good
know.
thing about the ending of this episode is we do get a quick announcement that thankfully the fucking dreadful dead last twist is over, which means the house guests are very excited, as are we, because it was a terrible twist to begin with.
Yep.
Um,
All the podcasters, the house guests, everyone are very happy and excited.
yes, this was a terrible twist. I really don't think it amounted to much of anything.
No,
All it
that
really
and the one person being safe from a poll, those are kind of pointless.
Yeah, especially this, like, if you're gonna do stuff like that, do it way later in the season. Don't do it now.
Yeah,
I
too
don't think
early.
it's way too early, but also I think, at least in my opinion, I don't think they intended for this to be a 1 week thing. I think they wanted this to go a lot longer, but I think they saw that like people weren't really digging it and they were like,
Yeah.
yeah, we gotta just like get rid of this.
Yeah. They just were like, let's just make it regular Big Brother
Yeah,
now.
because I feel like when you implement something like that, all it really would have done was like give the guys incentive to just like win every comp, and this makes it so it's a little bit more fair. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that that's not that. Renee can catch a break. Renee's
Yeah.
not going to have to go on the block again.
Well, we'll see. Spoilers.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but that's pretty much it for the first week. Is there anything else you
And
want to
then
say?
it ends before we find out who wins HOH, as everyone misses various shots.
Yeah,
Obviously, yeah.
that's pretty much it. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap this up here?
I'm just hoping like it's a good week too.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be boring. I just want it to be entertaining. No filler, showmance bullshit.
Yeah,
Just
we've seen enough of Ty and
good
Claudia. We don't
stuff.
need to see them all the time.
Yeah.
Because this
But
is
yeah,
what happens. They get obsessed for some reason. Big Brother gets obsessed with showmances and they want to
yeah,
show them constantly. And
like
sometimes you just don't need to see them.
all big brothers are obsessed with showmances.
That's what I mean. Like literally all Big Brothers are obsessed with showmances, and you have like the most boring fucking showmance going on right now. The lesser we see of them, the better. Give us less of Zach too. We don't need to see him constantly just like drone on and on. We can see
Exactly.
him. Like obviously we want him to be seen, but not like monopolizing everything.
For sure.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for this first week. To be honest, I'm not that thrilled with this season so far. I'm hoping it turns around,
Yeah.
but
Right now, I'm trying to think what I would give it so far after week 1.
it's like a 5, a C.
Yeah, like it's like a C. C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, it's not the worst, but it's not great
it's
either.
very, very mid-tier, I would say.
Yeah,
Like,
middle of the road.
it's not bad because I do think some of these players have a lot of potential. And again, I keep saying this, but if you take away not having the feeds, I don't think it's a terrible season. I do think that definitely does bring it down quite a bit. But if you
Yeah,
look at
yeah.
it just based on the episodes we got, this is very middle of the road so far. Like, we have potential with some of these players. It really just comes down to if they're able to live up to that potential, if they're able to, you know, continue what the good things that they're doing, or are we just going to get the guys dominating? Because even though the guys are turning against each other, who knows how long that's going to last? We know how guys
We'll
are in
see.
alliances, so we will
Oh, I
see how
know.
that ends up
Let's just get
going.
some girls' alliances to do well, like the Ball Smashers.
No, literally, like, I don't know why it's so difficult. Well, actually, I
Please.
do. It's because people are flirty and prefer their showmances over the girls' alliance, but that's a whole different can of worms.
Yes.
But anyway, I think that's pretty much all we need to say about Big Brother Canada 11 for this week. Quick announcements right off the bat. Survivor 44, we are covering this season. Very
Yep.
good season so far.
So good. Definitely a sad boot order, but still a great
Yeah,
season.
not the greatest boot order, but the season itself, I'm really liking a lot, and I'm very excited to talk about this week's episode.
This past week's and everything. We'll do that soon.
Yeah, definitely very excited for that. I think that's really all we need to
And then,
plug.
of course, stay tuned for our other like stuff that we're going to be covering: the Circle, the Traders,
Yeah,
the Mole, etc.
yeah.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we'll eventually get to those at some point. Who knows when at this point, but we will try to catch
We
up.
just have so much to watch and everything, so it just gets hard.
Yeah, we watch literally everything together, so it's not the easiest sometimes to stay on track. But we try to do what we're doing. Hey, at least we've made it past week 1 of a Big Brother season, so we're already doing better than Big Brother 24, where we didn't cover it at all.
I
So
know, but we will do a review for that before BB25.
yes, definitely. But anyway, even though I think that cast has gotten all the ego boost that they need, I don't think they need much more
That
of
is
one.
true.
But either way, that's it for this video. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And remember, couples who podcast together stay together. Love you guys.
Love you guys.